everyone, Lauren, Alvin, and Nina at A Pup Dog and Puppy Training. Training Tip Tuesdays. I wanted to talk about obedience or good manners, responding to cues versus behavior modification. Not really versus. I'll explain what I mean. So, if you ever talk to Heather, I have a tendency to be a bit pedantic. I can be really particular about grammar and things like that, but it's really important to be careful with the words you use in dog training because it's an unregulated industry, but especially because we're talking about living creatures who can't speak for themselves and whose attempts at communication are often ignored or quashed. So we need to be, see I'm doing it now, we need to be clear about what we're saying because it's affecting the life of someone else and we are effectively putting our words in their mouth. And when you do that, you're taking on a lot of responsibility and you need to be careful about what you do. So often I get calls from folks who say something along the lines of, my dog needs to learn obedience. He's barking, lunging at other dogs. One, here's me being a pedant. Obedience is a sport. So just like agility or nose work or dock diving or children's pageants or inline skating, it's its own particular thing. It has its own ribbons and its own particular sets of behaviors and the ways you're supposed to do it, and it's not my thing. I'm not interested in dog sports. No offense to people who love it and do it with their dogs and have a great time. It's not my jam. It's different than good manners, and that's different than behavior modification. Saying that your dog who has a behavior issue needs obedience is kind of like saying, my kid's getting in fights at school, so I need to help it. I need to make it be really good at walking down a stage and, posing in a bikini and doing all these like kids pageant things. And that's might help. I mean, maybe they'll gain abilities to, public speaking, that'll make them feel better and they'll be less likely to be, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not the same. Behavior modification would be therapy or maturing emotionally or learning to communicate effectively or regulate their own emotions, learning how to do that on their own, or just, like lay down on the couch, psychotherapy, adjust your neurochemistry with a doctor, that sort of thing. That would be behavior modification. And I'll do another video sometime about how to know the difference, I guess. But what we call good manners now, what used to be obedience, and the sport is still obedience, but good manner skills, sitting down and come, etc. Those are important. You need to know how to maneuver your dog through space, and they need to know how to do things that you ask them to do. And you're living with another species. It's important to be able to communicate, by all means. But if your dog is freaking out about something, either because they're super excited or they're terrified or they want to murder it, getting them to sit or making them lay down or making them look at you or anything like that isn't necessarily going to address, it's not going to address the underlying cause for the behavior. So it's kind of like trying to force a Band-Aid on top of something, just hoping it goes away. It's not addressing the underlying cause or taking into account the emotional state or the neurochemical reality or brain's wiring, everything like that. All of these things that contribute to behavior. So what do we actually want to do? It makes sense on the surface. The dog's freaking out, and Laura said on Training Tip Tuesdays, you just picture in your head what you want your dog to do and you teach him how to do it. So the dog's freaking out, I want the dog to sit, I'm gonna make the dog sit and pay him for sitting. It makes sense. And you might get away with it. But it's not, again, not addressing the underlying cause. So I'm gonna come back to that W. Jacobs trifecta, fearfuldogs.com. Identify and protect them from the triggers so they're not practicing the pattern of behavior of that's a monster, freak out, that's a monster, freak out, or I'm super excited, freak out. They're not going down that old neural pathway. We change their brain's response on the physiological, neurochemical level from freak out to, oh boy, chicken. That would be counter conditioning. Or we do it through bat or cat or other behavior modification protocols. We change the way their brain responds to it. Their actual brain responds differently. We make that the new default through practice and management. They're not being exposed to the other one. And then once we've got that happy brain, the brain where they can actually use their frontal cortex and make decisions, then we ask them to make decisions. So sits and downs and look at me's and leave it or whatever it is you want to do. If we don't change the way the brain responds to the trigger, this is reptile brain, the amygdala is sounding the alarms and freaking out, and it's drowning out everything they could possibly make decisions about. There's a reason nurses and firefighters and other people who work in stressful, dangerous jobs practice things over and over and over and over and over again, so it becomes their default in their brain, so that when their brain is going freak out, danger, they can still do the things that they need to do because it's such a well-worn pathway. And that's what you're asking the dog to do. So rather than throwing a firefighter into a fire and going, here's the hose, put it out, you gotta put it out, you're a firefighter. You do it somewhere easy so they're able to do those skills. You get them used to fire. I'm not a firefighter, but you bring up the brain's ability to remain calm and make decisions, and the dog's ability to make those decisions and perform the behaviors and respond to cues. And at the same time, the person's ability to read their dog and manage the environment and manage their dog's exposure so they're not putting the dog in over their head, and they're cueing their dogs with cues that they know the dog will actually respond to, and they're just managing the situation. So these cogs are working at the same time, and that's where the change happens. Eventually, since you're making actual change in the brain, you don't have to be in trainer mode all the time. Things improve, and eventually you get to the place, cruising altitude, where sometimes based on genetic influence or just reality, where you're gonna be. Hopefully on the up and up, but you're gonna reach somewhere. We need to bring the brain's ability to remain calm up before we ask them to make decisions. That's the Band-Aid again. Because, like I said, they can't make decisions if they're freaking out. And if we expect them to do that, it might work, you might get away with it. They might be, oh, okay, I can do it, okay. But you're not changing their pattern of behavior or their train of thought. They're still going, that's freaking out, mom makes me do something, okay, now I'm doing this while I'm freaking out. And that's not the same as learning to regulate your own emotions or learning that things are safe, which is, at the base of a lot of these behaviors, just inhumane to ignore. We need to help them do it themselves and change their brain's response to ask them to do something on top of it. So I hope that makes sense. Obedience. Obedience is a sport. Good manners is a lifestyle. It's important. It's having a well-behaved family member. And that is also important. Having your dog respond to cues is important, like I said, but it's still not the same as helping them when they're freaking out or helping them learn how to not freak out. So I'll do a video some other time about, is my dog broken or are they just, no. Is this behavior modification or is this good manners stuff? And often, there's a little mix. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. We've got all sorts of stuff coming up. When is this going to post? Yep, it'll be that week. So Friday the 30th is games night, spring fling. It's going to be Easter themed. We're going to have a little doggy Easter egg hunt, timed, and then we're going to have a loose leash walking egg and spoon race. We had a buttload of dogs last time, so I'm going to have to limit it. I'm going to have like 2 now. But the rule now is 10 dogs max. So if you come after there's 10 dogs, it's going to break my heart. We're going to have to turn you away. It's for safety's sake. It's also just for everyone's enjoyment and my sanity. There's only so much room in here, and we're moving around. We've got Pity Party. I'm excited about this. It doesn't start until May, but I'm very excited. Pity Party starts May 8th. It's a mini class for pit bulls. Learning is not breed specific, but all the terrible things that pit bull owners have to deal with and has nothing to do with their dogs. So it's a pity positive space. We're gonna learn polite greetings and some good manner skills, a good deal of good manner skills, but we're also gonna do cute tricks as icebreakers, and we're gonna practice advocating for our dogs and canned responses to offensive questions. Yeah, anyone with a pity knows what I'm talking about. We've got Mind Your Manners is coming up in April. That's a refresher for graduates. It's a little 3-week refresher. The 3-week courses are only $79. We've got a CGC class coming up in April 19th on Thursdays, and Zany to Zen is coming back. Those are both for graduates. The AKC CGC test, there's all sorts of info on it online. There's a link on the website too. That's my little ribbon, that's what I'm looking at. I can't think of anything else to say about it. It is what it is. It's cool. It is what it is. But sign up. It's nice to have a little ribbon for your dog and make their accomplishments official. More official than the certificate you got from Adipup, which is very official because it says official seal of excellence or something on it. So I got your back. Let me know if you have any questions or requests. Games night, classes, I think that's about it. Take care. Bye-bye.